Welcome to What is a Customer Data Platform? My name is Laura. I run events and campaigns for Arm Treasure Data. We're super glad to have you here as we dive into customer data platforms and what it's all about. But a few things before we get started. In your BrightTalk console, you'll see a tab that says Attachments and Links. We've given you a helpful CDP checklist, a link to get a customized demo, and the entire CDPs for Dummies guide that you can download. So go check that out, some great information there for you. Also, if you have questions at any point during the presentation, you can ask them in the Questions tab, and we will follow up with the answers. We do want to help you and give you all the information you need, so please make use of that. So now I would like to introduce our presenter today, Tom Treanor, who is our Global Head of Marketing here at Arm Treasure Data. So Tom, thanks for being with us.
Glad to be here, Laura. Thanks for having me here. So welcome, everyone. So today I'd like to talk about what is a CDP, so what is a customer data platform. And we'll be doing, obviously, the introduction, and then after that, talking about a little bit about what's driving demand for CDPs, what is a CDP, why you might want to consider buying versus building, but we'll look at the options there, and then also we'll wrap up with some comments. And before we dive into exactly what a CDP is, let's talk a little bit about the context for what's driving demand for something called a customer data platform. So right now, the threat of data-driven disruption for all companies across all industries is very high. And we did a study with Forbes called Data versus Goliath, which is how smaller companies or companies fighting the big disruptors can use data to basically achieve victory. And what we learned in that is that most executives see a threat of technology-driven disruption for their companies. So 89% of executives see a threat, and 51% see very high risk of technology-driven disruption. And obviously, we see things like retail store closures. We know things like hotel industries going through disruption from technology-driven startups. We have automotive, both how you buy and the types of cars from technology. InsurTech, and I could go on, but I think we all know what the story looks like. So we're all facing disruption, and if we don't change the way we've done business, we're at risk. And one of the ways that companies are fighting the disruption is to get closer to their customers, to provide a better customer experience, to have more data about their customers, who are their best customers, when their customers going to leave, why are they leaving, how to give them personalized experience, how to drive a consistent omni-channel experience so they don't get conflicting messages in different channels, and also just so they can better understand their customer and develop a closer relationship. So, Gartner said that customer experience is the new marketing battlefront, and as I talk to customers and go to different shows, etc., almost every customer is changing focus from a funnel-based approach to marketing to more of a holistic end-to-end customer life cycle approach to really understanding what's going on with their customers and to help win in the marketplace. Another thing that is driving the need for something called a CDP, which we'll describe later, is the fact that the MarTech stack complexity is outpacing the organizational capabilities. So not only are we adding numbers of tools to our marketing stack, supplementing a broad suite of tools in some cases with point solutions that do specific things, or in other cases using a best-of-breed strategy where we cobble together what we consider the best in breed into a holistic stack. But we're often adding tools, swapping in and out tools, and adding capabilities. And this complexity is outpacing the ability of the organization to manage that. And so what this means is the focus on the end-to-end customer experience and all the data we're gathering from that, as well as the MarTech stack complexity, means that there's an explosion of customer-related data points. And I could show a graph of data points up and to the right, and we'll see one later on this topic. But this is a McKinsey study that showed that across industries, sales and marketing are by far and unanimously the highest impacted functions from data and analytics. And so in sales and marketing and customer experience, we're managing massive volumes of customer data that we have to make sense of, and then we have to actually use to activate across our different customer touch points. But one big problem is essential data is locked in silos, and it's hard to get at. It requires IT intervention, it requires custom integrations, it requires downloads. It's not an ideal situation for an agile marketing team to do testing, to look across this customer experience and to collect data about a single customer's journey. So you can see what the problem. And then we look at the promise of AI. So as we know, across a lot of areas, AI has a lot of expectation in terms of how things are going to change. So, but if you look at AI, one of the expectations from executives looking at this PwC study in 2019 is that there's a huge expectation that AI will help create better customer experiences. But the problem is, if you can't get the data and unlock the data, you can't enable the AI to do what it needs to do. So I hope that gives you some background on why there's such a big demand for some sort of system that pulls customer data into one place and normalizes it and then allows you to use it across the different touch points. And so understanding and managing customer relationships at scale is key to your company's survival. So let's talk about what exactly is a CDP. So if you look at the CDP Institute, so David Robb does a great job, and he's a pioneer in helping pull this area together and to define it. A customer data platform is a packaged software that creates a persistent, unified customer database that is accessible to other systems. So he's done some studies, and you can find these all at the CDP Institute, in terms of vendor growth, in terms of number of customers using CDPs, et cetera. So it's all growing very fast, and this is one of the biggest topics out there in the market. A lot of customers are asking us about, what's a CDP, how do I use it, et cetera. There's a lot of industry events across different industries. There's a lot of companies who are investing in CDPs and working on CDP projects. So I'm going to provide some additional considerations about CDPs. So in the definitions, packaged software that creates a persistent unified customer database. So this is absolutely true, and the persistent is a very important term. But additionally, you can put in a good CDP other data that impacts customers. So you can have weather data, you can have economic trend data, other things, for specific states. You can have things, there's a variety of data that you can put in there that impacts customers, but is not just pure customer data. And that way you can tie those two things together. So what this allows you to do is to be able to create reports and perform analysis without having to create Jira tickets or ServiceNow tickets for IT. You can also get ingestion and data load with minimal IT help. It's also your gateway to customer-related AI. And a very important thing, as your stack, as your stack evolves, and as you bring in new technologies or swap in and out technologies, having one tool that centralizes all the data allows you to more easily swap in and out MarTech tools without massive disruption to your whole stack and having to rebuild all these different integrations. You can build that integration into the CDP. So let's talk about the CDP architecture. So you have your first-party data, and this is a primary set of data that you would love to pull together into one database and be able to see. And in many cases, there's nuances like different country data. There's different business units that have different data stores. There's your ERP, there's your point of sale, there's your weblog, surveys, social data, loyalty programs. So all of this, there's even things like IoT data. All of these things are your company data. So a customer data platform is something that can help you pull in that data, and in many cases it's hard to reach data sources. So this is where you can do data unification, segmentation and targeting, predictive modeling, cohort analysis, etc. But in addition, you connect up your channels, which are also data sources. So your CRM data, your marketing automation data, but there are also places where you can activate. And this is what helps you orchestrate the customer journey. Because having both your company data, your channel data, and the ability to both ingest data from the channels as well as activate using those channels allows you to do the personalization, to have the omni-channel, to understand the customer as they go across the customer life cycle. In addition, you can add in second and third party data sources. And I mentioned, so there's things like demographic information, interests, etc. And I mentioned earlier weather. So you can have, based on weather, you can change the campaigns in certain regions to offer promotions to try to drive in-store sales, etc. So that's where things like that can come in handy, and where you can include this type of thing in the customer data platform. And lastly, the customer data platform allows you a way to do analysis and visualization using all of that data. You can do campaign results analysis. You can do exec reporting and dashboards, etc. So this is kind of how to visualize what a CDP architecture would look like. And for an example, we have the Subaru example where we help them orchestrate the customer experience all the way from their research, through the different recommendation sites on social media, etc. Organic visits, so online, looking at the websites, looking at the dealerships, and actually in person at the dealerships. So we help orchestrate the end-to-end customer journey for Subaru in terms of the car buyer experience. So there are a lot of CDP use cases, and so I'll highlight some. Personalization, predictive scoring, recommendation engine. So for Wish.com, we help power their recommendation engine, which has helped them grow enormously. Lookalike marketing for ad spending, ad purchasing, and online and offline identity unification. So those are a few different use cases, but there are a lot of different use cases that come with CDP. So looking at this, intellectually it sounds easy. It's kind of like the Marie Kondo of your company. So let's just clean things up. Let's start a project internally where we just pull all the data together in one place, and that way we have our internal CDP. So it sounds great. Some considerations, and there are definitely people who are doing the internal CDP projects. Some considerations that we like to think about are, one is time to market. So by having a prepackaged software solution, as David Robb of the CDP Institute mentioned, it saves time to market. So it gives you faster time to market. We're able to implement much more quickly than an internal project, as well as the integrations that are pre-built to help you plug and play more quickly. As far as total cost of ownership, you have to basically look at the cost of the internal resources, the cost of the IT, and then the cost of purchasing. There's also technical and data science resources that are a scarce commodity right now, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. Ongoing improvements and maintenance. So once you build a CDP, there are ongoing improvements and maintenance. So there might be different connectors, there might be things that break. So with using a vendor, at least you get the fact that the vendor is pushing that forward without you having to do anything, and you get that as part of the package, as opposed to having a small IT project every time something changes or you want to make or something breaks. Also, the security privacy concerns, which are top of mind for any IT project. If you go to the CDP vendor with high security and privacy credentials, and then you basically save a little bit of time and effort on that aspect. And lastly, the vendor, having seen many other implementations, can provide expertise in the data science area and other areas. So let's talk about a couple of these areas in more detail. So we talked about time to market. So I mentioned the prepackaged software aspect, which is a great savings in terms of getting to market faster. And the other thing is the pre-configured integrations really speed up time to market because they allow for more of a plug-and-play environment. So this is just an example on our site of the different plug-and-play integrations. So the setting them up is very easy. They're already pre-configured, and then you put in the credentials in most cases, and then you're able to be off and running with that data. Another thing to consider is the technical and data science resources. So as I mentioned earlier, data volume is increasing rapidly, and the number of sources are exploding. But the problem is that data science talent is really hard to come by, and even once you have data science talent in-house, the giants like the Facebooks and the Amazons of the world will often come in and poach the best ones. So the problem is, if you start a project to build an internal CDP, it's almost guaranteed that the people that are maintaining it and running it a couple of years later will be different sets of people. So that's one of basically the arguments to look at buy versus build, and definitely one of the concerns if for any internal IT data project. So in terms of selection criteria, if you're looking at a CDP vendor, these are a bunch of things to consider. Some of the ones that I'll highlight are, can they integrate everything? So one of the things that we try to do at Treasure Data is to be able to integrate even very, very hard to get at data sources, and as I mentioned, there's a lot of plug-and-play integrations, and then a lot of custom integrations that can be built into the system. In addition, what we call infinite resolution is we believe in the ability to get to raw data. So not providing you with a view of the data that's not the actual data. When you can drill down into the raw data to see what's really going on. So that's definitely something to look out for. Master for orchestration across the entire buyer journey, and so things. It's the standard things, but then also the more obscure things like IoT data. AI powered. So is your customer data platform, does it have strong AI capabilities? Is there strong ongoing customer success support, and are they secure and compliant? Are a few things to look out for. So there are some implementation myths about CDPs and any big project. And one of them, I was talking with someone the other day, and they said, well, it's a little early for me. We have to kind of get our data sorted out first and get our data structured right before we can consider a CDP. And I said, well, it's actually the opposite. We're there to help do that. So you don't have to get your data house in order and then start to talk to a CDP vendor, because that's the whole point, that you're working with someone like us to help you get that in order, specific to the customer data or customer-related data. Another one is that a CDP implementation is a rip and replace project. So no, we're not going to go in and rip and replace all the different data warehouses that store your customer data now and replace it with something. it sits adjacent to those. So it's not going to change in a negative way any of the workflows that people working on those different areas do, but it can be an enhancement because they can actually start using the data from the CDP as opposed to those other source systems. Another thing is that it takes months, if not years, to see if it will work. A POC can be available within a matter of weeks to see if it will work, and then the projects are not, as I mentioned before, it's not a rip and replace project, so it's not this massive, multi-year implementation project. So some things to think about as you're looking at a CDP, both either internally or with a vendor, are one is to determine the use cases. So what are the main use cases that you'll start with? And then also start to document your data sources. So what are all the different data sources that you have that you would want to connect to a CDP, including wish list data sources that you can't tap into today. And lastly, involve key stakeholders. Absolutely anyone who touches the customer experience, as well as IT, and as well as any other data-related stakeholders in the company. So ARM Treasure Data, we consider ourselves an enterprise CDP leader. We were founded in 2011 and acquired by ARM in 2018. We have global reach and enterprise scale, and our pedigree is in data science. Our founders have come from the data science industry, and we've built a lot of open source plugins that are open source technologies that are very popular in the data science industry that are used in addition to the use in the Treasure Data tools. We have over 325 customers, including the customers that you see below. We also have been featured for 2 years in the Data Management Solutions for Analytics by Gartner. And we have the scale, performance, and trust that you need from your CDP vendor, from data sources all the way through business systems, and we are built on recognized data security compliance programs. So that ends the presentation today. You can learn more at treasuredata.com. If you've entered questions, we're going to follow up after with answers to those questions, and we appreciate that. If you have further questions, we have a lot of resources on the website, as well as feel free to contact us and ask any further questions about what I discussed today.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Tom. Very informative. Good information. I would also like to say that if you guys would like to explore the rest of our Bright Talk channel, we've got a lot of other great information about customer data platforms. And for any of you in the retail industry, coming up on April 2nd, we have a retail-focused CDP webinar all about how you can better use your IoT data. So please join us for that. For that being said, thank you everybody for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.